This crowd rises to its feet. Vaccaro slammed it home. Garland left wing, free ball. Perfect! Garland right of the lane, lobbed to Mobley. Pow! And Allen blocked the shot at the rim. Pow! With the left hand and a foul.
Welcome to the Chase Down Podcast, part of the Cavs media family. I'm your host, Justin Rowan. The Chase Down is presented by Fubo, the official streaming partner of the Cavs. Watch over 350 channels of live sports and TV, including FanDuel Sports Network without cable. There's no cost and no commitment. Try for free at FuboTV.com/Cavs. The Cleveland Cavaliers take a commanding 3-0 win over the Miami Heat, handing Miami their largest playoff loss in franchise history. A lot of fun to see the Cavs step up and get that win on the road. And joining me today is my co-host, Carter Rodriguez. Carter, how you doing, buddy?
Brother, that was fun. It was a game that I felt really good about going into. Then you find out Darius is out, so you have kind of a layer of angst. Maybe not about the series. Certainly not. I didn't have angst about the series. But, angst about, oh, man, could Miami steal one and then prolong things and things get harder and, you open up risk and, they just killed him, dude. They absolutely just destroyed their will to play basketball over the course of the game. It was just phenomenal. It feels like to me that instead of sitting and resting on their laurels, knowing they were up 2-0 and just having the game plan of, well, let's just keep doing what we're doing, it felt like they did exactly what you asked them to do in the last podcast, which is anything they weren't doing, start doing them. Start fixing everything. You're not getting enough rim pressure. How's 6 Jared Allen first half dunks basically? You're maybe not letting the shaky ball handlers on Miami, off the hook. How's 8 first quarter turnovers? Just felt like they kind of had everything solved.
Yeah, it's getting Jared Allen involved. Obviously, part of that is going to be Darius Garland wasn't in the lineup. I think Darius is averaging 24 points per game. You're going to need to generate those points somewhere else, right? And I had wanted to see that more. I thought that Miami didn't have the personnel to really take away both Evan Mobley and Jared Allen attacking the basket. Carter, how many attempts do you think the Cavs averaged at home versus Miami in the restricted area per game?
Oh gosh, let's see here. They took 86 attempts tonight. I'm gonna say 20.
Okay, so at home, the Cavs averaged 10 attempts per game in the restricted area. Tonight against Miami, they took 37. They shot 78% on those looks. And obviously Jared Allen was a big part of that, but the Cavs were getting to the rim and not kicking it out to open shooters. They got plenty of threes, don't get me wrong, but they were very focused in their attack of getting to the basket. Obviously, Ty Jerome, Donovan Mitchell got to the basket. A whole bunch of guys were doing a great job attacking. And I thought the aggressiveness of the bigs was a major story here. How the Cavs attacked was a little different than in games 1 and 2. In games 1 and 2, you saw a lot of kind of those double drag actions, and there was still some of that in game 3, but I actually thought there was less of that. There's a little more two-man game, a little more, all right, we already have an advantage in terms of who Tyler Hero's guarding. We can score on him in isolation. He's on DeAndre Hunter. We're going to let Dre go to work on him.
A lot of good post-ups for Dre. Good ammo for the post-up agenda for DeAndre Hunter. Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay. Miami's so focused on the Cavs stars, they forgot about Dre, and he had a terrific game here. It was really, really fun. And I think, anytime throughout this season where the Cavs get a signature win or they have one of these moments where, they've struggled in the past playing in Miami. They've struggled on the road. We saw them after 2 dominant performances against Orlando in games 1 and 2 really fall apart and open that series right back up in game 3. Anytime the Cavs do something that deviates from expectations or their history, I just reflect back on, would we have expected this last year? Could we have won in this way? And to have a game where Donovan Mitchell scores 13 points on 4-14 shooting, only has 1 assist, and the Cavs blow out Miami in the way that they did, without Darius Garland even in the lineup, that is one of the most encouraging things I've seen from this offense all season. Because this Miami team, they're flawed, but that is a very good defensive roster.
Bro, there's no disrespect here, but I had to watch a lot of this game in the car. We had a little road trip to a kid's birthday party we had to take. So I just had the AirPods in, phone this far from my face, just mainlining Cavs basketball. And I was sitting there with them up, 30 points, just thinking, really wasn't that long ago where I was like, can Colin and Darius get us to 40 plus wins? It's not that long ago where you're really wondering whether they can even be a decent team. And this your third best player on the season is unavailable and not, it's not like a 2 uber stars and then the third's just a guy. Like, Darius has been instrumental, especially offensively, for what this team has done all year.
Yeah.
He goes out and everyone is just there to step up. The roster depth is unbelievable. They didn't even have that bananas of a shooting game. They made 15 threes and 40 attempts. Like, that's about an average shooting night for them. And yet they continue to just put up these mondo offensive performances, and it's just so rewarding to see it come to fruition like this. I know it's only the first round, but it does feel great.
It does feel good, right? Because it just gives you another level of confidence, right? We said coming in, can the Cavs have a dominant series? Can they prove some of the doubters wrong, right? We assumed that Miami was going to go out and they were going to get a game in this series, or felt that they had a good chance to, and the Cavs would actually have to go out and earn it. You look at a lot of the series predictions, usually everyone had the Cavs, but it was 5-6 games. For them to be as dominant as they've been offensively throughout this series, I think is incredibly encouraging, because they've done it in a variety of ways. And I think that this game in particular was a true kind of litmus test for, is this offense different than it's been in the past? Because, I think you saw from Donovan Mitchell, his shots didn't fall. I don't feel like he ever got overly passive as a result of it, but he was making the right play out there. Like, I thought he kept the ball moving. I thought, he was contributing on defense. He hit some big shots and wasn't afraid to take the shots, but he trusted everybody around him to do their part, even without Darius being in the lineup. The secondary playmaking that we've talked about all year, and in the past when the Cavs would have playoff failings, we'd say, hey man, there's not that secondary playmaking here. Like, Darius and Donovan are facing a ton of pressure up front, and Mobley doesn't seem ready to break it. Well, now you got Max Strus, who's able to run, beautiful pick and roll games. That 2-man game with Jaren Allen felt almost disrespectful, where they were passing it back.
Flint Tropics type of stuff.
That was truly something, and Max had some disrespectful moments in that game. But Ty Jerome is able to run that stuff. I think, Sam Merrill keeps the ball moving. Everybody from up and down the roster knows what they are supposed to be doing offensively. And they really do have 4 or 5 guys that can initiate at any time. And I just think it is such a healthy offense that really, as good as Miami is defensively, and not only were they a top 10 defense in the regular season, they were a very good defense in the half court. That hasn't bothered the Cavs. The game has slowed down in the playoffs. We're not getting those easy transition buckets, but we are able to generate quality looks throughout. And even when the Cavs have gone down early in these last 2 games, I feel like the shot quality has been very good. And that's probably why those games have normalized very quickly within the first quarter.
Yeah, I mean, they're better and they're showing it. And like, Miami can put up the facade of competition in these games, but they have not been able to make any sustained efforts towards being in the Cavs ballpark.
Yeah.
In our Discord, someone did like an analysis of like the biggest sweeps of all time, like in terms of point differential. And if the Cavs held this pace, they'd have the fifth most dominant sweep by point differential in the history of the sport. And it just does feel that way. They have a plus 20, more than a plus 20 net rating through these 3 games. And, the offense is really, I think, the story here. And like, I understand why the national media isn't paying a lot of attention to the series. Frankly, it's almost a compliment to the Cavs that everyone is just like, yeah, they're killing them. It's fine. And moving on to other series that have more like wider implications than this. But like, I do think it's important to note the Cavs had the best offense in the NBA with a 121 offensive rating in the regular season. Game 1, they put up a 137.5. Game 2, they put up a 128.7. Game 3, a 136.3. And to your point, what's so cool about that is they did it 3 different ways. This wasn't, they have a thing that they just spam that Miami is uniquely unsuited to deal with. It's not like a Jokic against the Lakers thing where it's like, yeah, they're just going to run 2-man with Murray and get a good look every time. The Cavs won game 1. They mustered that offensive rating game 1 through elite guard play, pull-up shooting, and finishing. Game 2, the barrage of 3-point shot making, again, 11 and a quarter, a playoff record. And then game 3, it was through pick and roll play, through really, really smart semi-transition attacks. It was through post-ups. It was through, and super democratized. I mean, they put up 124 points. Jared Allen led them in scoring with 22. Yeah. So I just think not only has the offense held up, all I really wanted was to see a good offensive rating at the end of the series. And I feel like they've exceeded even what I asked for here, which is I was hoping that it would drop a couple points but still be really, really good while everyone else has dropped a commensurate amount of points. I wasn't expecting a lot better in 5 different ways over the course of 3 games. I mean, how could you not feel encouraged?
Right. And they're shooting 43% from 3 so far in the playoffs. That's going to come down. I still think that there's some room for regression here. But when you have an offensive rating of over 130, there's a lot of room for regression while still being elite, right? Like that's not something I'm too concerned about. And we talked about on the last podcast how I felt our offense was due for regression and their offense was due for regression. I felt like the defense has been terrific, honestly, through 3 games. The only time that there was really that lapse was the game 2 fourth quarter where the Cavs kind of felt like they had put the game away. But if you look through the first 2 games, Miami was actually shooting 60% on tightly contested 2-point field goals. Like that was a number that was going to come down. And you look at this game overall, they shot 38% on 2s, period. Forget just the tightly contested ones. Like there was that regression that was due to happen at some point to them offensively. I felt like Tyler Hero was hitting a lot of tough shots. They were circulating, the matchup data in terms of who's kind of had their way with who throughout the series. And Max Strus defending Tyler Hero was one of those kind of aberrations that was out there that I think he was shooting about 60% on Strus. Strus did a terrific job on him defensively. I thought, every time Tyler was coming off the pick and roll, Strus was either fighting through it and showing body. I thought that the help was there in a timely manner, really disrupted his rhythm. And if those first couple contested shots don't go down, the confidence is going to start to shift a little bit. And I thought Max did a really, really good job on him defensively. It really held his own, and then obviously had a pretty dominant game by role player standards the other way.
Yeah, Max has been phenomenal in this series. He played 31 minutes tonight, by far the most he's played, and he's kind of ramped up. Game 1, I think Ty stole a bunch of his minutes and he lands at 21. Game 2, he gets up to 26. And then game 3 obviously gets up to 31. And man, I mean, the shooting has just been phenomenal. He's 11 of 22 from 3 so far. Like, that's exactly the kind of volume you want to see in his minutes. And obviously the accuracy doesn't hurt either. The defense has been great. He's averaging 4 assists and 4 rebounds. So he's giving a lot of toughness, a lot of smarts, a lot of supplementary playmaking. When Miami does over-index, he's hitting the tough threes. He had a couple when things were still a little choppy early in that game where he just was like perfectly guarded and hit it anyway. And like, that is exactly what you wanted out of the box with the Max Strus experience. I thought he was perfectly fine in the playoffs last year, even though his numbers weren't great. I thought it was one of those things where his impact to the game against Orlando and Boston exceeded his point production. But boy, is it nice to have both. Where he is like just giving you everything. I mean, what a sequence for him where Wiggins blows by Jerome, is getting ready to yam it, and Strus gets there, goes straight up, completely stymies him at the rim. And poor Wiggins has had a few of those this series where he thought he had a runway and did not. But completely stymies him at the rim, comes down, just fills the exact perfect gap, gets a wide open 3 and hits it. And basically, I mean, the game was over. It was real over after that one. And as 2 card carrying Max Strus fans, I feel like it's been a very satisfying series against Miami, especially with how many people in Miami were in our ear saying, "Oh, he's not a playoff riser. Be careful. Be careful. Not a playoff player." It's like, well, sure looks like it this time, huh, guys?
And not only that, the playoff trash talk started before game 1 where Bam was basically saying we don't give an F about Max Strus, right? Like there was disrespect being thrown that way. And, I agree with you. I think Max played better than he shot in last year's playoffs, but it's nice to see, that overall game be there. And not only was he great, the UVA Cavaliers were terrific coming in off the bench. For the Cavs to go on an 18-0 run, in the first quarter where Donovan doesn't even score a point within it, that's special stuff. Like they really, really played terrific tonight. And I thought it was interesting too, because with no Darius Garland in the lineup, Kenny had a few options, right, that he could go to. I was interested to see where he'd go. Is he going to go defense first? Is he going to play size? Opted for shooting and spacing with putting Sam Merrill in there. That lineup,
and then quickly decided not to opt for that the rest of the game.
Yeah. The starting lineup was outscored 13-19 in the game. They had a 59 offensive rating, which the shooting didn't really work out.
Missed.
I agree with that. I found it interesting that after starting with Sam, Kenny did go larger kind of throughout the afternoon. He opted to kind of move Dean Wade up above Isaac Okoro in the rotation of this one. And we really saw quite a few large lineups. The best lineup that we had in terms of production only played 2 minutes and 30 seconds, but it was that Ty, Max, Hunter, Wade, and Allen lineup that outscored Miami 10-0 in those 2.5 minutes. So the Cavs had a lot of size out there, and I think that's what made it easier for them to exploit some of those individual matchups one-on-one defensively without, really doing some of the probing and as much work as they had in the past to hunt out guys like Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, and some of the other guys that have struggled really to keep up defensively when they are trying on the defensive end.
Yeah, I mean, it is hard. I will say this. Miami played an awful game. They were not sharp. They played relatively listless. I'm not sure I've seen a team throw away so many passes as I did in that first quarter for Miami as the game was getting away from them. Bam Adebayo had 6 turnovers. It's very rare a center even gets the ball enough to have 6 turnovers.
Yeah, a lot of weird miscommunication ones too, where he was throwing to where he thought a guy was going to be, and they just weren't there anymore.
Yeah, so like I'm trying to like figure out exactly how much to like weigh some of the rotation stuff, I guess is why I'm saying that. Because like they did play so bad, and and in the first quarter, the Cavs started out getting great wide open looks at Donnie and Sam. I think got 3 wide open, like no one within 10 feet of them threes, and clanked all 3 of them, you know? So, but I do think it's interesting that and it goes to show for anyone who's worried about Kenny being overly orthodox or like overly locked in on any individual player, that the game where Kenny rewards Sam for playing really well in games 1 and 2 with a starting spot ends up being the game he plays the least minutes in of the series. He played 21, 20, and then in this game 19. So like it just goes to show like, and of course with one less healthy player in the rotation with Darius missing. So even you can apply a modifier on that 19. It just goes to show like he's just going to play the guys who make the most sense for what's working against them. And and I do think that size was really valuable. I think the biggest rotational change was Dean Wade got a lot of run in this game. Yeah. He didn't score at all, but boy was he locking up. Absolutely shut off Hero's water a couple times, moved the ball pretty well, rebounded pretty well. What do you think of his minutes?
I agree with you. I thought he played really well defensively, and it's a little bit. It reminded me of Game 1 with Sam Merrill, where Miami just like looks at him and goes, "Well, we can attack him." Felt like they were trying to attack Dean.
Don't do that.
I would definitely not recommend doing so. He is a really, really solid defensive player, and I like going bigger, right? Like that's kind of been one of the things that we've discussed since the DeAndre Hunter trade of, hey, we actually have this option to play a little bit bigger, and it just always feels better when you're the team that's kind of bullying, right? The Cavs once again, won the hustle battle. They won the offensive rebound battle. It really felt like they were taking it to Miami. I loved how they attacked the rim. Mobley, hanging on the rim over top of Bam Adebayo. Like all of that felt so good. But, I think what Kenny's done has been merit-based, to your point, right? Like what lineups are working, which guys have it going, which combinations on any given night are giving me my best look, right? Like he's really letting guys go out there, play with comfort. And if they perform, he's going to give them the space to work. He's going to give them that ability to do their best work, just like Zoom AI Companion helps us, because only you can do your best work, Carter. Zoom AI Companion can help you do the rest, like automatically taking notes, answering meeting questions, and helping you respond to your coworker. Available at no additional cost with eligible paid plans. Work happy with Zoom AI Companion.
Yeah, I thought Wade was very good. I will say the only I haven't had a lot of rotational quibbles with Kenny. Only time I was like, I don't love this is when he and Okoro were sharing the floor. I just think in a playoff setting, there's just not enough like quick trigger on the floor if you do that, especially because you're going to be playing him next to I want to say it was Jarrett at the 5, so not a guy who's going to do a lot of self-creation himself or frankly shoot from more than 4 or 5 feet away from the hoop. Like, I thought that was the only time I was like, okay, they need just a little more juice, and I think Donovan in those minutes actually kind of bailed them out with a couple tough buckets that kind of kept them at bay. Plus, I mean, they were just guarding so well. I mean, the data is not available yet, but the stat I'm most interested to check was how many attempts Miami got off with 0 to 4 seconds left on the shot clock, because it felt like 2 out of every 3 possessions, like they were just trying to kick to Bam in the corner for a contested 3 with like 3 seconds left. It was nuts.
Really, really impressive performance. And, you talk about the rotations, little things that Kenny Atkinson has done throughout the series. It's such a odd series to evaluate because I don't feel like, Eric Spoelstra is having a bad coaching series. Like, I think he's made adjustments that make sense. I think the guys that have been, out there make sense. Duncan Robinson was really good in game 1. Games 2 and 3, he can't really get on the court. The Cavs have attacked him far too much, and he doesn't do enough to justify being out there. He's pulled Alec Burks from the rotation. Like
Jared Weiss, by the way, of The Athletic, brought up a really good point that one of the things Mobley has done so well, he's talking about how, Mobley really has been cementing his defensive player of the year in these last couple games. And he mentioned that so much of what Mobley does is prevent the shot from happening, so he doesn't even need to contest them. And like the Duncan Robinson dribble handoff game, he is just all over that, he and without giving up too much ground. And I know it sounds a little silly to be like, oh, look at how well the Cavs are doing holding off a bench player on the Heat, but like Robinson's whole job is to turn games. By hitting 3 threes in 2 minutes. And the fact he just isn't even getting the shot, he got one attempt up in 18 minutes. Like, if you want to talk about a thing that's like very damning for their offensive health, one attempt for the guy who, like, on this Heat team, where like with this kind of offensive output, just shows you he can't get free. He can't get the kind of looks that he, it's not like he's a shy shooter.
Yeah. He's a fire drill player, right? Like when he's coming off screens, Bam Adebayo sets terrific screens. He's one of the best dribble handoff guys in the league. Usually you get a scramble. In game 1, there was actually a scramble every time Duncan was getting the ball. He wasn't always able to get the shot off, but he was at least able to generate an advantage, get the Cavs defense into rotation, and create opportunities for other guys. That wasn't happening in games 2 and 3. And, I don't think we're going to see a better movement shooter in the playoffs. Like, no disrespect to Sam Hauser and some of the guys that Boston runs similar actions to, but they don't run those actions as quickly as Duncan Robinson does. They don't get the shots off as quickly as Duncan Robinson does. I think that it is important data to have of how the Cavs are defending those types of actions. I think Boston's going to be a very different type of test, right? Like, we see what they do. They try to generate screens. Then they attack the Cavs in isolation. They're going to try to attack Darius. They're going to try to attack Donovan, right? Not because they're poor shooters, but because they're shorter. Like that's what it is. But with Miami, when the Cavs attack, it's not, hey, we're getting a shorter Tyler Hero here and we're shooting over them. They're getting by Hero. They're getting by Robinson. Those guys look confused out there. They are out of position. They're able to generate these quality looks at the rim. And I was beginning to say before, I don't feel like Spo's being out-coached, and I don't feel like Kenny is doing anything revolutionary from an adjustment standpoint. The initial game plan is just so good for the Cavs. They've cleaned up little things, right? Like I think the defensive communications got better. I think the way that they're attacking the rim, they're finding some of that low-hanging fruit and working to improve on what they're already doing. But there just hasn't been that need to really adjust because what they are doing is so damn good. We have a team here that even without Darius in the lineup, probably 6 guys that were playing today would start on Miami. That disadvantage really ends up showing up here.
Yeah, I think that number might be low. I think there might be more guys. I mean, this Miami team
through it. Let's run through it here. Mobley,
Darius, Donovan.
I said without Darius.
Without Darius. So
it would be 6.
Certainly 4 of the 5 starters tonight would start for them. I think it is very, very possible Ty Jerome would start for them. I mean, they're starting Davion Mitchell right now. I think it is certain that DeAndre Hunter would start for them.
Yes.
And
that's 6.
Yeah, there you go. That's 6. I didn't realize you weren't counting Darius.
Okay.
But even a guy like Dean Wade could be getting minutes if they wanted to like bench their rookie center who is having a really hard time in this series. Like, I don't know if there's. I'm sure. I wonder if at the end of the series, Evan is going to turn to Khalil Ware and be like, "Been there, bro." I remember what it's like to be a kid in a playoff series. It's hard because he can't. They just tortured that poor kid with empty side pick and rolls over and over and over again. And Jarrett's spacing on the roll was just always perfect in a way that allowed a clean pocket pass and too much ground for Ware to have to cover. It felt mean-spirited often over the course of this one.
I like it, man. That's what I want, right? Like I want to be relentless with how we attack teams. I want this team to continue to show how great they were in the regular season. This is exactly what I wanted to see in the series. This is exactly what I was hoping when we were doing the series preview. I wanted Miami because I thought it was the toughest test outside of Orlando. But, you know, the Orlando test doesn't have to do with basketball. It's can you survive without, you know, losing limbs? I thought Miami schematically was going to test them the most. I thought that was the best defense available, you know, out of the three teams once Orlando was out of the mix. I thought it was the best coach. I thought that was the best defensive player. Like Bam Adebayo's the best defensive player you will see in the playoffs, at least in terms of big men. I think Bam's the best big man there. I wanted to see the Cavs come out, want to make a statement in the series, and make one. That's when I picked the sweep at the start. I felt like this team was capable of doing it and that they were going to go out and try to make that statement. And for them to do it in the way that they have, for them to do it tonight without Darius, I think we are seeing more data that is going to filter through my confirmation bias and tell me that this team is ready to contend for a championship.
Yeah, I think the only thing that, you know, leaving this game that you go, the only thing you can really not feel good about is that Darius didn't play. Right. The rosy glasses kind of mentality is they felt like they had the series in control, and you know didn't think it was worth being a little risky with a only 1 day off, a Monday game coming up. But I think he would have played if he felt good enough to play, and especially after some extracurriculars in the press room heading into this one. So I just
let's go there. Angsty boy, what were your thoughts on Darius, you know, kind of pointing out the obvious in terms of how the Cavs have been attacking Miami?
I thought it was like a little out of pocket.
Okay.
It's not done. You don't normally hear that. Like you don't normally hear it. So like it's at least it's a story for a reason, right? I mean, people are normally you don't put a player's name, in that conversation,
Yeah.
However,
Kenny at practice the day before had basically been like, obviously there's certain players we're targeting, like certain guys we want to go at, where like he was cracking a smile, but you're right. You normally don't put a player's name on it there.
Yeah. So but I don't know. This is where I'm not going to adjudicate it because I don't know what these guys are saying to each other out there. Maybe Hero told Darius he was trash at the end of the game too, and Darius was like.
Hero said they did have some words at the end of game two.
Well, there you go. Then they were annoyed with each other, and then do I like it? Yes. Do I think it's fun? Yes. Do I like that Hero shot back at Darius and was like, he doesn't play any defense either, which not true, but do I like that? Yes. Do I like that the Cavs are talking with their chest out a little bit? And not just the nice young men we know them to be. I think it's all good. I think it's all fine. And if this game showed us anything, it's that the Miami Heat are not motivation away from competing in this series. They're not bulletin board material away from competing in this series. They're not on the same level. So that's why I didn't leave it worried. I didn't feel like, why would you try to make them mad? Just win quietly. Whatever, I'm not on the court. I don't know what these dudes are saying to each other. I do know that Darius, I've never heard him do that before.
Yeah.
So I'm going to assume it was earned because Darius doesn't have a track record of talking like that.
Yeah. My initial response had some angst to it. I was like, oh no, let's not poke the bear. I was sitting there. I'm like, if Miami wins game 3, you're going to have that back and forth. But, I don't mind it, man. Like, here's the thing. Whether you're talking about being a contender, whether you're talking about, putting a spotlight on yourself, you're going to get proportional praise and you're going to get proportional criticism, right? Like you are welcoming that all. And I don't want this team to fly under the damn radar, man. Like, I want this team to be a contender. I want this team to be a contender with their chest. That means that when you have a poor game, if you have a poor game and you lose, you're going to face criticism. Donovan, he didn't shoot well in this game. That'll go under the radar because the Cavs had a great game and they got the win. I am okay with Darius putting a spotlight on himself. Obviously, he wasn't able to play in this game. That's going to lead to jokes. People are going to get their comments off. It's all part of it, man. If you feel like you want to put some extra expectations on yourself, go ahead. Because you know what? Like, I feel like this is a year that the Cavs can go out and win a championship. I don't want to fly under the radar and do that. I want the smoke. I wanted the toughest matchup in the first round. I want Boston to be fully healthy in the conference finals. I want the toughest matchup in the second round. I want this team to be tested. If this team goes out and they pass all of those tests and they win a championship, guess what I want? I want another championship. I want to keep contending. I want this window to stay open. I want the pressure. I want the highs and the lows. So if they want to do that, go right ahead. It's just part of the game. Like, people are going to get their jokes off, with Darius not playing today. That's part of it.
I think the joke stopped at 37 points.
I think they did too.
So I don't know.
They did too.
I guess to put a button on the Darius stuff. I guess my question is, like, if he's still a little sore, do you play him game 4, or do you and try to just close out the series, knowing for a fact that Indiana, Milwaukee is at least going 5?
Yeah. I'd be tempted to. Just thinking to the end of the regular season when he first had this toe issue pop up, he missed one game with it, came back after, and I believe that's when he went nuts against either Chicago or New York. One of those two games, it was the New York one that he went nuts after missing a game with the toe. So I'm sure if he's healthy enough to play, he'll want to play. Who knows? Maybe he even wanted to play tonight. I would err on the side of caution just because toes are something that can linger for so long, and you want to get that right. And one of the benefits of winning a series in 4 is you get some time off. So if you're able to give them that extended time off, maybe you do it. But if the medical staff feels like, hey, like, this isn't in a point where we're concerned, we feel like it's good to go right on ahead. If I had to guess, his reaction after game 2 probably had something to do with what was said on the court, and it probably had to do with frustration that he re-injured the toe and was limping so hard to end the game, right? Like, that's a frustrating thing. This is the first time he's missed a playoff game with the Cavs. So I'd err on the side of caution. It's one of the benefits of being up 3-0. But I'm perfectly comfortable with trusting the medical staff because they've been very trustworthy all season long.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, we are many things. We are not doctors, but with that said, like, I am, if there is a preference to letting him just sit and trying to close out the series with everyone else, like, if you didn't think they could do it without Darius going into today, you should definitely change your mind, because they absolutely can beat this Heat team down a key player or even 2. And I think this team has been so consistent in what they're prioritizing through this run, through this season. And I gotta say, I'll be surprised to see him to go in game 4, but I'll be very pleasantly surprised, because that means, because to me, if we see him play, then he feels pretty darn good.
Yeah, and hopefully if he does play, he looks very good, right? Like, he's been terrific so far in the series. So I guess we'll see there. I just want to put them away in 4, no matter who's out there.
A sweep would be satisfying, but I think I'm at the point now where I'm not going to get worked up if they lose game 4, because because my definition of the gentleman's sweep is win the first 3, lose the 4th, and then win the 5th. And
I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to mention that. We talked about that a little bit in Cleveland. It's you go ahead. Go with your rant about Boston being called that last year.
Yeah, just any series. Winning in 5 is not an automatic gentleman's sweep. A gentleman's sweep is you've swept them, aka you've won 3 in a row, and then you allow them to have one for posterity because you are a gentleman, and then you take care of business in game 5 at home. You know, get yourself one more game of home revenue for at the gate. You know, but that is a gentleman's sweep is not just any series in 5. But I guess my point is, as long I don't actually care what happens in game 4 will not affect the way I feel about the team heading into round 2, round 3, round 4, whatever it is, unless someone gets hurt or something.
Yeah. So I want to see a wrap up. You know, anytime you're out there on the court, something can happen. So let's take care of business. I expect Donovan to bounce back from what happened in game 3. The Cavs, you know, they slayed a lot of demons here. We saw them not play well in game 3 against Orlando after having a lead. They haven't played well in afternoon games all season. They've struggled in Miami historically over the years. All of those things were checked off, and they found a way to win in dominant fashion here. So that was an incredibly encouraging game. You know that Miami's going to play with a lot of pride, and they're going to try to prevent the sweep in game 4. But I feel pretty good about the Cavs' chances of going out there and taking care of business, ending their season and giving themselves some time off. And, you know, as you mentioned, we know that Milwaukee, Indiana is already going 5. Boston lost to Orlando. You look around the NBA, OKC very well could have lost the last 2 games. You know, they were down 29 before Dort took out Ja. They almost lost even without Ja tonight. You can't take any of these matchups for granted. You know, any team can beat anyone in any given game, and playoff intensity is a different animal. So for the Cavs to be so dominant through 3 games, I think is a really, really great sign. But big thanks to everyone tuning in live on YouTube. We really appreciate you guys. Make sure you like and subscribe. Click that notification bell so you know when we're going live. If you're listening via podcast and you want to support us, leave us a rating, your review, subscribe, unsubscribe, resubscribe, and help cook those books. If you want to be part of Chase Down's exclusive Discord chat, send a screenshot of the review to chasedownpod@gmail.com. However you choose to support us, we really do appreciate it. Make sure you guys are staying safe out there. Until next time, go Cavs.